Okay. Okay. I'm going to kick us off because it's a beautiful summer evening and I'm respectful of councils having some long days recently. So I will now call the public hearing of July 7th, 20. Sorry, I lost my mic there. And I will remind council that we are barely at quorum. So if you can stay visual on your mic, that would be much appreciated until perhaps we might get another councillor a bit later in the evening to provide a bit of breathing room. But beginning off tonight, this meeting is convened by electronic means, and as such, council members may participate in person or by electronic means, as a number of you are tonight. For council members that are participating electronically, please ensure your video is turned on and let the clerk know if you leave the meeting for the purposes of confirming quorum. Council members are reminded that in accordance with section 14.13 of this procedure bylaw, members must enable your video to confirm quorum. Any council member whose video is disabled will be marked absent for that portion of the meeting. If council members attending by electronic means lose connection during any portion of the hearing, we will recess until the connection is restored. If council members lose connection during the voting process, staff will do their best to get you back online quickly while we suspend the voting process. And this information for contact of staff has been circulated to you. Members of the public can view the proceedings via the live stream, as well as a YouTube link, which will be tweeted out by @VanCityClerk. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are gratefully on the unceded homelands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh people. We thank them for having cared for this land and look forward to continuing to work with them in partnership as we build this great city together. I also want to take a moment to recognize the fantastic contributions of our City of Vancouver staff who work hard every day to help make our city an incredible place to live, work, and play. And I can attest to that it has literally been every day. So thank you for that. So clerk, can we have the roll call, please?
Yes, Mayor Stewart has a leave of absence. Councillor Carr.
I am here and alone.
Okay.
Oops, I don't need to be alone, do I? But I am. Sorry.
Councillor DiGenova has a leave of absence. Councillor Fry.
Present.
Councillor Swanson.
Here.
Councillor Hardwick has a leave of absence. Councillor Weeb.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Boyle has a leave of absence from 6 to 7:30. And Councillor Dominato.
Present.
Councillor Bly.
Present.
And Councillor Kirby Young is Deputy Mayor and Chair for this evening. The meeting has quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, before we begin, I do have some announcements. The public may participate by phone, speaking in person, or submitting written comments to council. All speakers will have 5 minutes to make your comments and should limit your comments to the merits of the report being considered. Speakers should also state whether you are in support or opposed to the recommendations and if you are a resident of Vancouver. Speakers may only speak once. You can follow along on Twitter @VanCityClerk for updates on the progress of the meeting so you don't miss your turn to speak. And any comments on agenda items may be submitted in writing through the online web form at vancouver.ca/public hearing comments. This link will also be tweeted. Any of those who are speaking on behalf of other groups or persons will have 8 minutes to speak, and only if those represented are also on the line or in person and must not be speakers themselves. Council is committed to ensuring all people who participate in Vancouver's public hearings are treated fairly and respectfully. The language we all use in public hearings should reflect respect for all residents, and no form of discrimination is acceptable. Discriminatory language includes attacks on groups of people and individuals. Vancouver's procedure bylaw prohibits council members from the use of words, tone, speakers, or gestures that express a negative view of the character of any person or groups of people. Members of the public are expected not to engage in improper conduct, which does include the use of expressions that might promote hatred or are defamatory. The creation of a safe and inclusive environment for the public, staff, and council to participate in is all of our responsibility. I remind council members you may call a point of order if language used by another councillor during a meeting may not be respectful, and as chair, I will ask the speaker to modify their speech to ensure that it is. Speakers who have pre-registered with presentations are reminded that the public live feed does have a slight delay. And to navigate through the slides of your presentation, if you have one, please say next so that the clerk may help to advance your slides. I also finally want to note the City of Vancouver's longstanding commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion, including the utmost respect for all genders. I remind council that when addressing speakers and staff, we will avoid using gendered honorifics and will instead refer to the person by first and last name, role, or title. And a reminder, council, that your role at a public hearing is to be a quasi-judicial body, which means you are only to consider the merits of the rezoning application or heritage designation. Council members may ask clarifying questions from speakers, but should save debate for after the close of the speakers list. After hearing from speakers, council may, 1, approve the application in principle, 2, refuse the application, or 3, refer the application to staff for further consideration. And finally, should council not complete all of the agenda items this evening, which I sincerely hope that we will recess and reconvene this meeting on July 22nd at 6 p.m. So our first item of business this evening is item 1, 2022 annual inflationary rate adjustments to density bonus contributions. And before we jump into this one, do any members of council wish to declare conflict of interest on this item? Not seeing any. We will now ask the clerk to read the application and the summary of correspondence received.
This is an application by the General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability to adopt an inflationary rate adjustment to density bonus contributions, i.e. affordable housing shares and amenity shares in the zoning and development bylaw, with new rates becoming effective September 30th, 2022. No correspondence has been received on this application since referral to public hearing.
Thank you. Any speakers for this item who do wish to speak on the matter may call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before close of the speakers list. Phone number will be tweeted out and available on the live stream, and there will be an opportunity for those by phone or in person to speak at the end of the registered speakers list. So, council, we do have staff to present this application, but there are no speakers, so it is council's discretion if anybody would like to hear the presentation.
Move to waive the presentation.
Second.
Okay, I don't know that we need a motion to do that. I just need to know that there are no objections. I appreciate the enthusiasm. So I'm not hearing any objections. So we will now move to whether or not there are any questions, since we waived the presentation from council to staff. And if there are any, I invite council to put themselves on the queue. And not seeing any. So we'll now hear from the public. And again, any speakers for this item who wish to speak can call the toll-free number 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before close of the list. And again, that phone number has been tweeted out and is available on the live stream for those watching along. And I would invite anybody in chambers to come to the podium. So clerk, do we have any speakers on the line for this item?
There are there are none for this item.
Okay. So hearing none, I will provide some additional call for speakers to provide final opportunities for the public to speak if they wish to do so. And again, if someone does want to speak to item 1, they can call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before close of the list. And that number is available again on Twitter and the live stream. So clerk, I wonder if you can guide us, seeing if there are no further speakers, whether this would be the appropriate time to take the 5-minute recess to ensure there's no calls?
Yes, I can confirm there are no there are none on the line right at the moment, but when we take a break, we have to check to see if
Create space for dialogue.
There's
Councillor Weeb and Councillor Carr, you may not be on mute.
so not for this item right at the moment. It's possible we may have a speaker following the break.
Okay, so at this point, we can take a 5-minute break until it's now 6:12, 6:17 p.m., and we will come back at that point, council. Thank you. Okay, everybody, welcome back. Have everybody. Okay, Clerk confirming we have no additional speakers at this time.
Don't have quorum yet.
Don't have quorum yet.
And two. So. One, two, three. Now we.
Okay, we have quorum. Thank you, Council. Clerk, do we have any additional speakers on the line?
I'm just double checking. And none for this item, Chair Kirby Young.
Okay, thank you. Seeing as there are no additional speakers, the speakers list is now closed. And as few or no public comments were received on this item after 5 p.m. today, I suggest we now close the receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking any further questions of staff, and to make a decision. So do staff have any closing comments at this time?
Good evening, Council. Nathan Bunio, planner with the Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability Department. Just wanted to make a quick clarification. The report includes two recommendations. Recommendation A is the inflationary rate increase to density bonus contributions. Recommendation B is a report back to Council to recalibrate the density bonus rates later this year. Just note that recommendation B was approved at referral on June 7th, as it is a report back. So tonight we will just be seeking approval of recommendation A.
Okay, and anything further, or that's it for staff?
No, that'll be it.
Thank you. And Council, any questions for staff at this point?
Move the recommendations.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councillor Carr, seconded by
That was Dominato.
Councillor Dominato. Thank you, Councillor. Any debate? Seeing none. Clerk, can you take us to a vote, please?
Chair, I'll take a vote assist in favor, please.
Okay.
That's Councillor Dominato.
Thank you, Councillor Dominato. And Clerk, I have a trouble with my panel. Can I also get a vote assist in favor, please? Okay, and that passes unanimously with none in opposition. And that concludes item 1 of our agenda this evening. The annual 2022 annual inflationary rate adjustments to density bonus contributions. And do we have staff ready to go for item 2? Yes, I'm seeing nods. Excellent. Okay, do any members of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on item 2? Seeing none, I will now ask the clerk to read the application summary of correspondence received, please.
This is an application by Integra Architecture Incorporated to rezone 5589 to 5661 Bailey Street from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit 2 6-story residential buildings with 120 secured market rental units, a building height of 19.65 meters with additional height for a rooftop amenity and a floor space ratio of 2.5 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation of the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 2 pieces of correspondence in support and 11 pieces of correspondence in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you very much. And a reminder, if there are any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445 pound before close of the speakers list, and that number has been tweeted out and is also available on the live stream. Now, council, we do have...
Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Councillor Bly.
Okay, great. I just have a point of privilege on behalf of Councillor Fry. His internet has cut out and he has to restart. So I just wanted to convey that message as he messaged me. And I know we're short on quorum, so just wanted to offer that.
Yeah, no, super. That's excellent. Thank you. But it looks like we have quorum still without Councillor Fry, correct, Clerk? By my count? Okay. I'm, while we are giving Councillor Fry a chance to restart, we do have staff here for this presentation. However, we do not have any speakers to this item at this point, so it is council's prerogative if they would like to hear the presentation. So I'm happy to hear if anybody would like to hear it, and if not, I would suggest that we waive the presentation and continue. Do we have Councillor Fry back on yet? I want to make sure he has a chance in case he wanted to see it. Not yet. Okay, maybe we'll just give it a moment to see if he comes on.
Counselor Fry says he does not want to see the presentation.
Okay,
He's still
Thank-
trying to get his computer up.
thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm going to keep us moving then. So at this point, following with no presentation from staff, the applicant also has an opportunity if they would like to speak to the application. Would the applicant like to do that at this time? Clerk, do we have the applicant online?
Good evening, everyone. This is Colin Trong. I don't know if you can see me on screen or hear me at the moment.
We can
I'm
hear
in
you.
Tegra.
We can hear you clearly.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, I'm the applicant on behalf of our owner's rep, who's also present with us tonight online. Um, Jonathan Almas, and also our landscape architect from ETA, Daryl Tack. We're here to address any questions or comments that councils may have for us this evening. Otherwise, we don't have a presentation prepared for this application.
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Council, are there any questions at this point? And I see Councillor Swanser is, and I will advance Councillor Swanser. You may ask questions at this point of either staff or the applicant, and this is council's one opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, just a reminder. Go ahead, Councillor Swanson.
Is this going to be a pet-friendly building for the
Hello,
applicant?
everyone. I am Jonathan Almas, representative of the owners. Yes, I can confirm that this will be a pet-friendly building.
Thanks. Are you going to have EV charging?
Yes, I believe it's by code, but we definitely will have EV charging all throughout the parkade, including bike lockers.
What about air conditioning?
Yes, we are exploring options to do cooling. We believe that cooling will be needed in the building. Working with our mechanical consultant right now on finding what is going to be the most low maintenance and economical solution to have cooling for all units.
And GHG low?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're not looking at doing a 4-pipe fan coil. We're looking at something that's more electrical.
Are you planning on having any gas cook stoves?
No, we're going to be probably going with ceramic cooktops.
Will you be getting any federal or provincial financing?
I don't know if I can speak to that now.
So maybe.
Or, I mean, perhaps, I'm not too sure what would classify as federal funding. We're probably not going that route.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That's
That's
all.
it for me.
That's it. Thank you, Councillor Swanson. Not seeing any other questions from staff at this point, so we will now proceed to hear from council, I should say, sorry. So we'll now proceed to hear from the public. And if there are any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to council, please call now, toll free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. And again, this phone number is tweeted out and available on the live stream. So Clerk, can you advise if we do have any speakers on the line, please?
None on the line.
None. Okay. I'll do an additional call for speakers. If there are any speakers for this item, again, who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before close of the speakers list. And again, this This number is available on Twitter and on the live stream. And again, not hearing, looking for nod from staff, not hearing there are any speakers on the line.
No.
I will suggest that we now take our 5-minute recess to allow anybody a final opportunity to call in. Now 6:28, so we'll come back at 6:33 p.m. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, council. We have quorum again. Have completed our 5-minute recess and seeing clerk confirming there are no additional speakers at this time.
No speakers.
Thank you. Seeing that as there are none, the speakers list is now closed. And as few or no public comments were received on this item after 5 p.m. today, we will now close receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff and to make a decision. Does the applicant have any closing comments at this time?
Good evening. No, we don't have any closing comments at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, any closing comments?
No closing comments from staff either.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for staff? Nope. Okay, we are 3 for 3. We will now move on to making a decision on the application. Do I have a mover?
Move the recommendation, Councillor Carr.
Okay, I heard Councillor Carr and I wasn't clear at the seconder. Was that Councillor Bly?
Yes, it was. Thanks.
Okay. Any debate? Councillor Carr, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thanks so much, Chair. I just really wanted to know, not only am I appreciative of the points that were made by, or in answer to the questions by Councillor Swanson around being pet friendly, there's EV charging, they're looking at air conditioning or some cooling, low GHGs, gas stoves. I really like the fact that this 2 sets of buildings is including a sort of a central courtyard between them. I've seen a lot of examples of that in Europe and other places with children's play area in between. And we've heard also people speaking to council many times about the need for outdoor play areas and outdoor spaces to socialize and create a sense of community within buildings. So I'm particularly appreciative of that, as well as the fact that although they're only retaining 5 trees of the 15 that are on site, they plan to plant 34 new trees. So for those reasons, and they're delivering a DCL. So for those reasons, I'm supportive.
Fantastic. Thanks, Councillor Carr. I'm not seeing any other councillors on the queue. So I'm going to ask the clerk to take us to a vote, please. And I'm going to ask for vote assist in favor, because I have a non-functional panel. Thanks. Okay, and that.
Chair, I'll also take a vote assist in favor because my panel
thank
isn't working. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Dominato. Okay, and that passes with none in opposition. Thank you, Council. That concludes item 2 of our agenda this evening. And bring us to item 3. I see we have staff at the ready, so we don't need a changeover. The item for item 3 is CD1 rezoning 1290 Hornby Street. And do any members of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on this item? Hearing none. Clerk, can you please read the application and summary of correspondence?
This is an application by Bucas Architecture to rezone 1290 Hornby Street from downtown district to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 35-story mixed-use building with 211 strata-titled residential units and a cultural amenity space. A building height of 106.11 meters and a floor space ratio of 11.96 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation of the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing. 2 pieces of correspondence in support, 11 pieces of correspondence in opposition. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Thank you, Clerk. If there are any speakers to this item who do wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061-4451, 445, I should say, pound, before the close of the speakers list. That number is available on Twitter and the live stream. And council, we do have 1 speaker present in chambers for this item, so I'm going to suggest that we go ahead with the presentation. And we do have Lex Domniak, rezoning planner with the Rezoning Center, here to present the application. Please go ahead. We can now. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Deputy Mayor and Council and members of the public. My name is Lex Dominiak, rezoning planner for this application under the potential benefit capacity in downtown policy. The site shown in red is located at the southwest corner of Hornby and Drake Streets and is comprised of 5 DD zoned lots. It is in the downtown south subarea known as Hornby Slopes, a high-density residential neighborhood. The surrounding blocks contain a variety of building types, including commercial, residential, hotels, and cultural facilities, with heights ranging from 13 to 54 stories. The site is within close proximity of bus service along Burrard and Granville Streets and a short distance away from 2 Canada Line stations. A number of parks, childcare centers, and 2 bikeways serve the site. Also nearby are 7 cultural and community spaces, forming an arts and cultural hub. Under Council's 2008 policy entitled Potential Benefit Capacity in Downtown, an increase in height and density beyond the 300-foot limit prescribed in the downtown ODP can be considered up to view cones in order to deliver public benefits. The policy boundaries are shown outlined in red on this slide. Per the policy, public benefits, including cultural and community facilities, per the policy, public benefits include cultural and community facilities, including and affordable housing and parks. The application also delivers arts and cultural space to advance 2 council policies: Culture Shift, which is the city's overarching 10-year cultural plan, and Making Space for Arts and Culture, which targets 800,000 square feet of new, affordable, and accessible cultural spaces. The proposal is for a 35-story tower reaching a height of 348 feet and providing 211 strata residential units, along with a cultural amenity space. The application was submitted in December of 2018 with an addendum received in March of this year. The project would contribute approximately 430 construction jobs. The cultural amenity space, at over 13,000 square feet, would occupy a double height volume at grade and on level 2. Artist presentation and exhibition space would be on the ground floor and artist production space on level 2. The cultural space would be transferred to the city as an in-kind community amenity contribution. Following enactment of the CD1 bylaw, city staff would undertake a process of selecting a local arts and culture nonprofit to operate the space. An in-person open house was held on February 15th of 2019, which was attended by 58 people. Concerns were related to the design, height, scale, and density, along with the affordability of the residential units and the type of public benefits being offered. In response, staff can confirm that the proposed height and scale aligns with policy directions and is supportable within the context of the taller surrounding buildings. Additional refinement of the building form and architectural expression would be further addressed during the development permit stage. Regarding the public benefit, rezoning policy for the Hornby Slopes area envisions new housing, specifically for strata residential to support public benefits. And cultural facilities are identified as an appropriate public benefit per the Making Space and Culture Shift strategies. The applicant has offered in-kind and cash CACs, with the cultural facility valued at close to $9 million and the cash component at just over $12 million, to be allocated towards recreation facilities, childcare, libraries, cultural space, and heritage conservation. The expected DCL is close to $5 million, along with a public art contribution of over $355,000. In summary, staff recommend approval of this application, subject to conditions in Appendix B of the report. The proposed uses, density, and height are consistent with the potential benefit capacity in downtown policy. And if approved, the application would provide residential units co-located with a cultural amenity space in the downtown area. Thank you very much. Staff and the applicant team are here to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much. And now is the applicant team here to speak to the application?
Yes, my name is Gary Yoshizawa. I'm with Buttress Architecture. and I'm here along with our client Bruno Wall to answer any of your questions.
Okay, just confirming you don't have a presentation at this point? You just,
Yeah, we don't have a presentation.
okay. Thank you. At this time, are there any questions from council to staff or the applicant? And reminding council, this is the one opportunity that council has to ask questions of the applicant if you wish. Okay, Councillor Carr, please go ahead.
Thanks very much. No, the report's very clear, but there was one item about the project that I didn't understand or I didn't know what was really meant, and that is regarding the artist space. It says that there is going to be presentation or exhibition space, an artist production space, and then ancillary space. What is the ancillary space?
I assume it's all the support space for the artist studios. We don't really have a program as of yet, but we will get further consultation with cultural services and urban planning in that regard. But we really are at the very early stages, and we don't really have any sort of guide to sort of what this space is actually going to be.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Just curious because I don't either. The other question is talked about having some trees and specifically trees on the lane. That's a curiosity to me. Why trees on the lane?
We've got an access. The cultural amenity space has two access points, one off of Hornby and the other one actually coming off the lane, and they're kind of interconnected. And right now we show a tree kind of within that sort of auto court turning circle, and it acts as a bit of a buffer.
Okay, got it. Thanks. That makes sense. That's all my questions. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. I'm going to advance myself. Can do that. And I just have one question, and it's really more for staff, I think, and that's with what type of cultural use are we envisioning that might be in the space? Is it something that would be open to the public? I know it's sort of early days, we haven't tended yet, but what's the general vision for what kind of arts practice this could support?
Thank you for the question, Deputy Mayor. I'll pass that to my colleagues in Cultural Services.
Hi, thanks for the question. This is Kristen Lambertson from Cultural Services. So this space will have presentation and production space, and yes, the presentation space is envisioned. It could have the potential for visual arts, media arts, could be an Indigenous hub. We have done some consultation and engagement with local arts and culture community groups, as well as made contact with some of the nations, and there is interest in the space, and the idea with having a presentation space there would be opportunities to have public events and programming for the public to access.
Okay, but there wouldn't be a requirement necessarily that it's open on a regular basis to the public. It would be discretionary for whoever may end up, which group may end up in the space. Is that correct?
The idea is that it would be open to the public. I think we're going to be entering a functional program with the community to further identify the design process, and then we would enter into a process with the community to do a call for operators. Typically, our presentation spaces are open to the public, so we are thinking that we're moving towards that. But again, it's really involving the arts and culture community to give further input, and depends on where we go with the call for operators.
Okay, thank you. I'll leave it there. Okay, seeing no other questions from council at this point, we'll move to hear from the public. We do have one speaker in chambers, Isan Arjipur Jafrudi.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah, if you can approach the podium, and you do have 5 minutes to provide your comments to council when you're ready.
Perfect. Thank you everyone to letting me to speak up at the moment. I am Ehsan Jafrudi and I live in 1283 Howe. It's Tate. It's an art gallery in London. They use these things to build the building that I'm living at. It has a really big art studio over there, but it's not useful. So I do have two comments which can help you to decide well for these kind of project. First is right now 1290 is a primary care for the public, which is really helpful, not just because of these coronavirus things, because it has a lot of good X-ray things over there that public can help public to live better. I remember back in 2018, I received a same mail for application at this address for about 18 floor. I can frankly, I can say, because the market is so hot in downtown Vancouver, everybody use these kind of, we are bringing art and cultural things to the community. But I told you, I live in 1283. It is Tate art gallery kind of thing. It's not useful. They just bring it to just rise high, to make their high rises as high as they can. The other things is, as you can see, all of our neighbors over there are really big and tall buildings, and they have a lot of units inside them. Specifically, ours is 330 units over there. The Broad Place is coming up, and South and Oni and the Pacific, all of these buildings and high rises has a lot of people living there. So I guess this lack of parking, this huge building will not help. And it's not just helping, it will make life harder for the people at that community to live there. Thank you so much, and hope that my comment helped you to decide well. And one other thing is, sometimes people or developer using some rules to just using that. They are not believing that. I don't want to say anything to these beautiful guys here. Overall, council, if you want to do something for the community, check their background, see what exactly they're looking for, and not forget giving their permit after finishing the project, looking after them to see how exactly their project and their buildings work. Because I told you, our place, 1283 How, our artist studio is not working in the last 3 years. And if we want to do for something for cultural arts kind of thing, we can run ours first instead of just bring one next to us to just give some more floors to someone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking the time to come to council and share your comments and thoughts. There are no questions for you, but we appreciate your input. Okay, just a reminder that if there are any speakers for this item who do wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before the close of the speakers list. Again, this number available on Twitter and on the live stream. And clerks, do we have any additional speakers on the line?
No.
Okay. I will just make an additional call, final call. If there are any speakers for this item again who wish to speak, they can call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before close of the list. And that number is available online. Okay, hearing none at this time, I will take our 5-minute recess to give everybody a final opportunity. At 6:51, we will come back at 6:56. Thanks, council.
A quorum? We have quorum. Chair.
Great, thank you very much. Okay. Clerk, can you confirm if we have any additional speakers?
There are none.
Okay, so seeing none, and as few or no public comments were received after 5 p.m. today, the speakers list is now closed, and I suggest we now close the receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff, and to make a decision on this item. At this time, does the applicant have any closing comments?
No, the applicant Butch's Architecture has no closing comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Staff, do you have any closing comments? None. And council, do you have any questions for staff at this point? Seeing none, council will now move to make the decision on the item. And do we have a mover for the recommendation?
Move the recommendations.
Thank you,
Carr.
Councillor Carr. Second. Councillor Swanson, I do see you on the queue. Did we miss you wanting to ask questions, or was that a holdover? Councillor Swanson?
I just wanted to comment before voting.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to thank you for that. I just wanted to confirm a seconder. I didn't hear a seconder.
Oh, second, that's fine.
Councillor Bly? Okay, seconded. And thank you very much. And Councillor Swanson, go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't think that in the middle of a housing crisis, we should be having so many units that are just for the richest 20% of folks. We should at least have a few in there for ordinary folks. So I'll be voting against it.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Swanson. I'm not seeing any other. Oh, I am. Councillor Carr, please go ahead with any closing comments. Clerk, I think we lost Councillor Carr. Could you?
Nope, you haven't. Sorry, I was on mute. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Although this project is not in the West End plan area, it's right adjacent to it, and the adjacent area in the West End plan is one area that the citizens decided to specifically designate for strata, with the expectation that the CACs, DCLs from that strata development would be used for public amenities. So it is in an area where there is a lot of strata already, but there are DCLs that are and CACs that are arising from this, and those community amenity contributions, I think, are really critical for the kind of amenities that we all value and the public values. The direct one of an artist presentation and exhibition space, as well as a production space. And that's very critical within any part of Vancouver, but certainly very important within the downtown core. Secondly, the 9.127 million extra beyond that in cash CAC, which will be used for childcare. At least at this point, it's designated for community amenities like the Vancouver Aquatic Centre, new expanded fire halls, and then some very specific amount for childcare. So at this point, I am supportive of the project because of the fact that it is delivering the cash that is so incredibly important to the delivery of the public amenities that the citizens of this city rely on.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Carr. Okay, seeing no other councillors on the queue, we will now move to a vote. And can I get a vote assist in favor, please, clerks? Okay, I see we have one that hasn't voted. Is that Councillor Weeb? Councillor Dominato? Councillor Dominato, we're not registering your vote.
Chair, the question panel still isn't working for me, so I'll take a vote assist in favor. Thanks.
Vote assist in favor? No problem. Okay, that has passed, Council, with none in opposition, and that concludes item 3, CD1 rezoning for 1290 Hornby Street. And I believe now we might, Clerk, do we need a few minutes to allow staff to set up for item 4 at this point? We'll take it. Okay, well, we'll just take a 2-minute break. Council will come back at 7:05 just to. Okay, Council, we're going to reconvene if everybody can make their way back to your screens. Just waiting for one more, Councillor.
We just need one more counselor to make quorum. Quorum. We have quorum, Chair.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, we're now commence item 4, CD1 rezoning for 131-163 West 49th Avenue. And before we begin, does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on item 4? Hearing none. Clerk, could you please read the application and summary of correspondence received?
This is an application by Yamamoto Architecture to rezone 131 to 163 West 49th Avenue from RS1 Residential District to CD1 Comprehensive Development District to permit the development of a 4-story mixed-use building with ground floor commercial space. office space, and 68 strata-titled residential units. A building height of 17.7 meters with additional height for rooftop amenity and a floor space ratio of 2.5 are proposed. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design, and Sustainability recommends approval, subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation of the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence has been received since referral to public hearing, 15 pieces in support. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you. If any members of the public would like to speak to this item, please call toll-free now at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445. Before the close of the speakers list, this number is tweeted out and available also on the live stream. And we do have Helen Chan, rezoning planner, here to present the application. And since we do have a speaker to this item, Council, I'm going to suggest that we hear the presentation. Are you ready to proceed?
Thank you.
Thanks. Go ahead.
Good evening, Council. My name is Helen Chan. I'm the rezoning planner for this application, which is being considered under the Canby Corridor Plan. Okay, sorry. The site shown in red is surrounded by RS1 zone properties. It is directly opposite of Langara College. The site is 2.5 blocks from the Canada Line station, and 49th Avenue is on the frequent transit network. The site is occupied by 6 single-family homes and 1 vacant lot. 2 homes are rented by the former owners, and the others are rented to tenants. The site is located near several parks and community spaces. This rezoning application is being considered under the Canby Corridor Plan. The site is in the Langara neighborhood, which is intended to become a walkable mixed-use urban environment. The plan anticipates buildings with heights up to 4 stories on 49th Avenue and 5 stories at the lane. A continuous street wall of commercial uses along 49th Avenue is required, as well as an activated lane. Density up to 2.5 FSR is permitted. The application for a mixed-use building was submitted July 27th last year. The building appears as 4 stories from 49th Avenue and as 5 stories from the lane. Double-height commercial space fronting 49th Avenue is proposed. This height accommodates 2 stories of office at the lane. There are 3 residential stories containing 68 strata-titled units. 38% of the units are designed for families. The proposed density is 2.5 FSR and height is 58 feet. The project is estimated to contribute approximately 138 construction jobs. An open house was held in October and November of last year. 14 pieces of correspondence were received. Support was expressed for the location near Transit and Langara College, the new retail and office space, and the attractive building design. Concern was expressed about whether the height and density were sufficient given its location near transit. Staff note the proposal meets the intent of the Canby Corridor Plan. This application is subject to a fixed-rate CAC yielding approximately $1.1 million. Combined with DCLs expected from the site, the application will deliver nearly $3.1 million in public benefits. In conclusion, this proposal meets the intent of policy by delivering a mixed-use building with job space and residential strata units. Staff support the application, subject to conditions outlined in Appendix B. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions.
Great, thank you very much for that. Is the applicant team here to speak to the application at this stage?
Yes, Faizel Yamamoto with Yamamoto Architecture and Hassan Syed with Alabaster Homes are here to answer any questions.
Okay, but just to clarify, you don't have a presentation, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Council, this is your opportunity to ask questions of either the applicant or staff, and your one opportunity to ask questions of the applicant. Are there any questions? Councillor Swanson, please go ahead.
Yeah, to the applicant, what kind of a deal are you giving the displaced tenants?
I can answer that. It's Hassan Syed from Alabaster Homes. We've been working with staff and tenants and following the tenant relocation policy, and we'll be continuing to work with tenants over the coming months.
So that you're giving them a payout? Is that basically it?
It depends
Depending on how long they've lived there?
Yeah, it depends on the tenancy, and we'll be following that policy.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further, Councillor Swanson?
Nope, that's good.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, we will now hear from the public. And we do have one registered speaker to this, Ariane Cullenbrander. Do we have the speaker?
I'm here.
You are.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly.
Hello.
Please go ahead. You have 5 minutes to provide your comments to council.
My name is Ariane Kohlenbrander, and I'm a resident in the neighborhood of the proposed zoning and development bylaw. I would like to voice opposition to this recommendation, as I've regularly seen the congestion that occurs on West 49th Street between Main and Canby Streets. This street is not nearly as wide as Canby or King Edward Streets, both of which have recently incorporated multi-story residential units onto their thoroughfares. This part of West 49th Street is particularly vulnerable to traffic bottlenecks, as Langara College is located right at the corner of Manitoba and West 49th Street, which is where the proposed development is at issue. And on any given day, traffic jams occur right at this crossing, with hundreds more residents packed into a building as per the rezoning proposal. This street would become unbearably busy, given its narrow site and structure. If you've driven down West 49th, it is not a very wide street, does not compare nearly as wide to King Edward or to Cambier or Main Street for that matter. My husband and I are also concerned that the zoning bylaw will open up several more housing developments along West 49th heading east towards Main Street. Again, with a bus route, Langara College, and the narrow design of West 49th, multi-story residential units will only create problems for residents and students alike. And that is what I'm submitting in opposition to this bylaw.
Okay, thank you for your comments. I think you were very clear.
You're welcome.
You don't have any questions from council this time, but thank you for taking the time to provide your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll do the additional call. If there are any speakers for this item who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061-445# before close of the speakers list. And again, this phone number has been tweeted out at Van City Clerk and is available on the live stream. And Clerk, can you advise if we have any additional speakers on the line?
There are none on the line.
Okay, having done that additional call, I think we can take our 5-minute recess to allow anybody an opportunity to call in. It's now 7:15. We will come back, council, at 7:20. Thank you. Perfect, thank you. So just verifying, Clerk, do we have any additional speakers after the recess?
No additional speakers for this item.
Okay, thank you very much. So seeing no additional speakers list, please note the speakers list for this item is now closed. And as few or no public comments were received on the item after 5 p.m. today, I suggest we now close receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff, and to make a decision. So at this time, does the applicant have any closing comments?
No comments from us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Staff, any closing comments you'd like to offer?
No closing comments from staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And council, any questions for staff? Going once, going twice? Okay, council, we now move to make a decision on the application. Do I have a mover?
Councillor Carr, move.
Councillor Carr, second. Sorry, I'm not hearing a seconder.
Bye.
Councillor Bly, thank you. And is there any debate? Okay, seeing none, I will ask, no, hearing none. We'll ask the clerks to take us to a vote, please. We do have a couple of councillors who have not voted yet. Councillor Wiebe, I don't believe we have your vote. I'm still showing one not voted. Oh. No, it's me. Why is mine not showing? Okay, all right, it's showing now. Okay, so that has passed with Councillor Swanson in opposition. And everybody, thank you, everybody. That concludes item 4. Okay, in terms of item 5, does staff need time to set up, or are you raring to go? They look ready. Okay. We're moving in record time tonight. We're going to move on to item number 5, which is CD1 text amendment for 2010 Harrison Drive. Before we begin, does any member of council wish to declare a conflict of interest on item number 5? Hearing none. Clerk, can you please read the application summary of correspondence received?
This is an application by DYS Architecture to amend CD1 313 Comprehensive Development District to for 2010 Harrison Drive to replace the existing care facility with 2 6-story buildings, including a seniors care facility with 187 beds and a residential building containing 76 secured market rental units with 20% of floor area secured at below market rental rates. Building heights of 23.4 meters for the care facility and 18.1 meters for the rental building are proposed. The total floor space ratio of 2.02 is proposed for the site. The General Manager of Planning, Urban Design and Sustainability recommends approval subject to conditions set out in the summary and recommendation of the public hearing agenda. The following correspondence was received since referral to public hearing. 30 pieces of correspondence in support, 1 piece in opposition, and 1 piece of correspondence dealing with other aspects of the application. This represents all correspondence received up to 5 p.m. today.
Great, thank you very much. If there are any members of the public who wish to speak to council, please call toll-free at this time at 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061445# before close of the speakers list. Again, this phone number is tweeted out and is also available on the live stream. Council, we do have 3 registered speakers to this item, so I'm going to suggest we go ahead and hear the presentation. And we have Helen Chan, rezoning planner, at the ready to do that. So please go ahead when you're ready.
Thank you, Council. Yes, so this application is for a licensed long-term care facility for seniors and a rental building. The application is being considered under the Victoria Fraser View Killarney Community Vision and the secured rental policy. The site, shown in red, is located at the northeast corner of Victoria Drive and southeast Marine Drive. It is zoned CD1. The site is occupied by the existing German-Canadian care home, which has 137 complex care beds for seniors. Adjacent properties are zoned RS1 and RS1B. To the east are other seniors care facilities and housing. The site is well served by transit with bus service on Victoria and Marine Drive. The Victoria bus has its terminus at the bus loop adjacent to the north side of the property. The enabling policy for the care facility is the Victoria Fraser View Killarney Community Vision. The vision permits consideration of rezonings for institutional uses. For the residential rental building, the secured rental policy provides consideration for CD1 zoned sites where existing rental units do not currently exist. The rezoning policy for sustainable large developments applies and requires that the proposal demonstrate leadership in sustainable design. The application that was submitted in February 2019 was for a licensed long-term care facility for seniors with 163 beds and for a 5-story rental building. A resubmission was made on October 27, 2021, in order to increase the number of care beds to 187 and to add 1 more story to the rental building and include below market rents. Both proposed buildings are now 6 stories, but because of the slope on the site, the buildings appear as 4 stories from Harrison Drive. The FSR for the site is 2.02. The sustainable design features include significant tree retention, walking paths, and garden plots. The project is estimated to create 466 construction jobs. The licensed long-term care facility has 187 beds for seniors. The new building is being developed under a contract with Vancouver Coastal Health to provide a minimum of 150 publicly funded beds. The building has extensive program spaces, including an adult daycare. The rental building has 61 market rental units and 15 below market units that target households earning less than $80,000 per year. 35% of the units are family units. 20% of the residential floor area in the rental building will be secured as below market rental units. Shown in blue, the applicant proposes to offer the below market units at rents set out in the city's moderate income rental housing program. Shown in green are typical market rents for newer buildings on the east side of Vancouver. In comparison, renting has lower monthly costs than homeownership, which is shown in orange. An open house was held in January of this year. 54 submissions were received. Support was expressed for new families being able to move into the neighborhood, more access for seniors to long-term care beds, and for the building design. Residents also expressed concern about building height, loss of views, and traffic impacts. As a reminder to Council, the city does not protect private views. This project also complies with the secured rental policy for adding rentals along arterials. Staff also note, in response to public concerns, that view impacts have been minimized because of the sloping topography and siting of buildings. As well, traffic will be reduced on Harrison Drive because driveway access is being relocated from Harrison to Victoria Drive. This application is subject to a negotiated CAC. Combined with the DCLs and the public art budget, the application is expected to deliver $4.2 million in public benefits. In conclusion, this proposal meets the intent of city policy by delivering a new licensed long-term care facility for seniors and a secured rental building with 20% of floor area at below market rents. Staff support this application subject to Appendix B. Staff and the applicant team are available to answer questions.
Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. And at this point, is the applicant here to speak to the presentation?
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We waive presentation, but if I may just make a couple of points. I'm Dane Jansen with DYS Architecture, and I'm accompanied by my colleague Glenn Gardner. The CEO of the care home, Judith Purchase, is on the line as well, along with a board member, Richard Woodstock, who's been great assistance in developing our understanding of the rental building. We also have the landscape architect, Jeffrey States from PFS Studio. Thank you, Helen, for a great presentation. Just would add that this is a unique precinct in that there's a necklace of buildings that run parallel to Harrison and subsequently Southeast Marine Drive, and that adjacent to us is the Icelandic home, an assisted living building, and then there's 4 other buildings, which includes a care home by Finnish Canadian. So it's part of a developed precinct. I think for the most part, we can just answer questions. I would say that quite often questions about sustainability come up, but of course, as a large site, we're under the greater criteria for large site development and sustainability, and of course, the low emissions. I would also add that through work with the planning department, we have done considerable redesign. It's represented here when the tree policy came out a few years ago. So we've tried to maximize tree retention as part of this proposal. Beyond that, we're happy to take questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. Now, Council, if you have any questions for either staff or the applicant team, and a reminder, this is the one opportunity to ask questions of the applicant team, please put yourself on the queue. And Councillor Swanson, you are first. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is for the applicant. Is the long-term care place a nonprofit one?
Yuta, can you speak to that?
Yes, I'm Yuta Purchase. I'm the CEO of the society. The care home is a nonprofit care home.
Okay, thanks. And is it funded by? Is the building going to be funded by VCH?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
But the rental building is probably more of a self-sustaining thing. Is that the way it's working financially?
Yeah, perhaps Richard. Thanks, Councillor Swanson. Richard Woodstock can answer that. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Self-sustaining is a fair way to describe it. Sure. Yeah, it will generate a combination of market rental income and below market rental income, and will be financed on that basis, either by BC Housing or privately with CMHC insurance.
Okay, thanks. That's it for me.
Great, thank you, Councillor Swanson. Councillor Kari, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I just have one additional question. I was also interested in Councillor Swanson's question. My additional question is around the trees, and I noticed the applicant actually addressed the issue of trees, and that you're really working to retain. In the report itself, however, it says that you're going to be removing more trees than you are going to be planting. So 41 are being retained, 29 removed, and only 15 replaced. Can you explain why there isn't a 1-for-1 replacement?
Thanks, Councillor Carr. I think largely it's the available footprint area that we're dealing with. Again, with the landscape architect, Jeffrey States. Jeffrey, have you any comment on this?
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council.
The numbers actually I have that are in our plans in terms of removals and replacements are 41 removed, 93 replaced, with about 20 of the ones that have to be removed kind of within the footprints of the development. So I'm not certain about the numbers that you're referring to, but we are replacing at a 2-to-1 ratio in the planting plan relative to the removals.
Okay, I just took my numbers from the referral report that we received at council, so maybe you've got some updated numbers on that. But you are attempting to try and retain as many as possible, I'm gathering, and especially along Marine Drive, is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There are about 20 of the trees that are being removed are considered in poor, or actually, yeah, poor condition and should be removed on the basis of the arborist assessment. But otherwise, we're trying to retain the full kind of enclosure of trees that are there, both the street trees on Victoria and particularly the Marine Drive trees. That's correct.
Yeah, given that certainly the city's direction is to increase our tree canopy. In the introduction, you noticed something about gardens, and can you just explain what kind of gardens that you were thinking of including?
The gardens are kind of functional or kind of caregiving gardens in a way. Because of the care home facilities, there's a series of kind of smaller kind of courtyard gardens. One that's provided to each of the sort of the houses of the facility. Sort of small enclosed spaces with a kind of circuit walking path surrounded with planting. So kind of safe, comfortable places for the residents to go out and circulate, but without the worry about kind of wandering off.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's it for me for questions. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Councillor Carr. Councillor Dominato, go ahead.
Thanks, Chair. And just one quick question to the Society. I'm curious if you could comment on the need for long-term licensed care for seniors in the city, if given that this is a big focus of this development proposal. Can you comment on what that need is?
Yuta, can you respond, or would you like me to respond?
Yeah, I can respond. There is, from our point of view, there is a high need for care beds. We constantly operate at 98% occupancy, and there is a wait list for beds and for care. And it's with a growing neighborhood in this area, I can see this increase in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that. That's all I have for questions, Chair. I believe we have speakers, so thanks.
Great. Thank you, Councillor Dominato. Okay, so we will now hear from the public, and a reminder for any speakers to the item can call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by participant code 1061-1445# before close of the speakers list. The number has been tweeted out and is available on the live stream. And we do have speakers for this item. Our first speaker should be Patrick Von Han. First, we have Patrick on the line.
Yes, he is.
Wonderful.
You hear me?
We can hear you perfectly, crystal clear. You have 5 minutes. When you're ready,
Great.
please go ahead.
Thank you very much. My name is Patrick Von Han. I'm a resident of Vancouver, and I do have a long-standing connection to the home. My family has been members of the board as well as on the council, and we're very much in favor of this proposal. I'd like to thank you, the council members, and Deputy Mayor Kirby Young for the opportunity to speak. I'm passionate about this project as we are finally approaching the approval and building of a new home for both our present and, yes, future seniors like myself and likely you folks as well as future boomers that will be needing senior care at some point. The building itself is built in the early 1960s or late 60s. It is showing its age. It is low density. There's no sprinklers. And we did attempt to build in the mid-90s, but we are now finally approaching a building. The COVID-19 pandemic and the care of our seniors highlights the need for modern facilities that meet the needs of our increasing senior population, many who do suffer from dementia. My family, ja, wir sprechen Deutsch, is of German descent, and we value the German language along with the other languages who live in this home. It is a multi-ethnic home of many cultural backgrounds. And I have to be so encouraged that there were 30 respondents who have submitted written comments, all so glowing about the fact that this home is well operated. They are in favor of this development and are so encouraging us to continue. We are considered a first-class operator. These are some of the comments from Tom Davicoff and others. Below market and we are compassionate and an honorable operator. And it is a below market, and yes, Gene Swanson, it is below market and market rental accommodation. It is a mixed model development. It is quite innovative, though, in its approach. It has an innovative model of care. It will be hosting a house model where residents are not in long hallways with central kitchens, which is often the case in many senior homes, but in smaller units where there is a more personalized and group living experience with kitchen and laundry services in each so-called house. Comfort site and a home-like care instead of institutional models of care. I have to say, there is no reason why we cannot go ahead with this project. It is well designed. It is it's well thought out. It is well visioned, and it has been in the works for many years. We are so grateful to Vancouver Coastal Health in their support of the project. We are supportive of the neighbors. They are all very much in favor of this, and so I would encourage you to wholeheartely, with future in mind, but also with what we need right now, approve this project. It is a no-brainer to me, but I'd like to just give you a support to move ahead with this project. It is fantastic, and it will do well for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments. I think you were very clear, and I don't see any questions for you, but thanks for calling in tonight. Okay, speaker number 2, Nathan Davidovich.
Hello?
Nathan, hi. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes,
oh,
we can.
Okay. All right. I mean, they had some technical problems earlier this week. Well, this is another missed opportunity to move the inaccessible Harrison bus loop to Marine and Victoria by either swapping land from the current Harrison bus loop with land at the corner of Victoria and Marine, or by other methods. The grade or slope on Victoria Drive is around 10%, which makes it very difficult or impossible for many bus riders to access the bus loop. This mistake was made around 1980, as the former bus loop was closer to the corner of Marine Drive and Victoria Drive. This particular project was proposed 3 years ago, and I contacted the staff and the architect, and they refused to report to City Council the question of the bus loop. This is the only inaccessible bus loop in the city of Vancouver. The bus loop could also be moved closer to the Night Bridge, and thus connecting with the Richmond buses, as well as serving all the riders who live south of Marine Drive. There are many new housing being built south of Marine Drive, like 1925 Southeast Marine Drive. And the sooner we resolve the issue, the more riders will be able to access bus number 20 Victoria. This bus has the highest ridership of any north-south bus route in Vancouver. The new BC Accessibility Act of 2021 is coming to force, and the BC government sooner or later will impose accessibility requirement on TransLink For example, in Ontario, they imposed a deadline of 2025 to the TTC to make all the facilities accessible. I spoke to the office of MLA George Chow. This MLA is the only Vancouver MLA that managed to challenge TransLink and actually force TransLink to provide extra service in Southeast Vancouver in 2020. He's continuing his advocacy, and he will release a position paper on transit later this summer. The moving of the Harrison bus loop has been proposed for many years, but staff don't seem to be aware of that. So it's up to council to direct staff to start working on this item, and the MLA will help as much as he can, but you need a cooperation of both. The city owns the present Harrison bus loop. It's not owned by TransLink, so therefore the city has the leverage to tell TransLink, move the bus loop away, make it accessible somewhere on Marine Drive. Thank you very much for hearing me.
Thank you, Nathan, for calling in tonight and sharing your thoughts about transit. Appreciate that. And there are no questions for you tonight. Okay, that brings us to speaker number 3, who is here in person in chambers, Nikki Duga. Hi there. Oops. Okay, go ahead when you're ready. You have 5 minutes to speak to council.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. What I'm requesting is some additional time for the family members to prepare information. As you can see, there's a presentation developed in 2 years of work that's happened by technical individuals, and probably just a few days for me to put together my points based on technical language that I need to figure out. So we're requesting, please don't make a decision today. We need some more time as families. I'm a family that may lose my home because what they fail to say is in the the VFK and also the rental policy, you're not supposed to be having additional rental sites where existing rentals units exist. All the homes or most of the homes have rental units. There's laneways. We are trying to sustain paycheck to paycheck and we rely on our rentals. And this is a direct conflict that we'll be having with this rental building that will be there. Also, the adjacent facilities that they mentioned, they are also rezoned for rental units. So how many rental units do you have there? The FSRs double, more than double, from going from 0.88 to 2.02. What I can say is across the street, you have probably 50 people living, multi-generational, in the same space where you'll have about 700 to 800 individuals living. Just imagine the density population that we'll be getting, and the neighborhood is not going to be maintained. I would further say that according to the VFK, 0.19 says not approved for low rise. 0.20 says not approved for high rise. What they were saying was that 0.21, small developments, senior housing, low rise, 3 floors is what you can see is what's shown in the picture, or homes that are like Abbeyfield housing. So this was already not approved in the VFK. So depending, data can be interpreted very differently, who's proposing what. So they neglected to provide this information to you. 15.1. The impact on existing neighborhood. There's also the maintaining of the CD1 sites. So just because there's a rezoning that you can do doesn't mean that you just go with an infinite number that suits you, rather than looking at the neighborhood. And there's been no re-proposals back to the community. Family members, we put it in a petition. There were 28 points. Nobody ever got back to us. There's never been a reduction in floors, and that's mentioned that height was an issue, view was an issue. Instead, it's been increased. So that needs to be looked at. I'm going to be out of my home. We're modest paycheck to paycheck. I can't sustain. So you'll have us actually going to those rental where views are the primary selling feature, but you're taking away the view. I had a 360. They didn't look at our current built home. We had to go down in the ground because of 4 inches, where here we're saying go double the feet, go from 12 to 22. That's okay. The families don't matter. They can lose the view. We decide what view you'll get, but we are pitching views to the people that will come in the rental. The rental is going to be in direct conflict with us. Furthermore, arterial streets weren't counted, Marine Drive. They're talking about one entrance, but what about the entrance to the other? The contract from VCH, the 150 beds, is that actually physical? They weren't able to say anything about the number of other sites that are opening. COVID was actually worse in the larger sites than the smaller sites. There's 90 beds that are able to get VCH contract. We've never seen it. They couldn't speak to the wait list. The wait lists are drastically reduced. They're not full 100% occupancy. So we're talking about data that is not factual, factoring in COVID. The institutional nature of large facilities is already known. So it's more smaller sites that are needed, not larger 187. If they're only getting funding for 150, why is it 187, right? So there's a number of conflicts already here that need to be addressed detail by detail. Families need an opportunity to present like they did for you to have the true picture of what's actually going on. Yes, they're talking about a whole corridor being redesigned, but at the expense of the family members. We're multi-generational. I have physical disabled individuals. I have mentally disabled individuals in the home. And all that is going to be lost because we are not being factored in as a community. There's also break-ins already happening. We have traffic issues. We already speaking to transit all the time with their buses left there, families leaving their vehicles, staff leaving their vehicles. The 700 to 800 I'm talking about is just people living there. You'll have at least 300 plus staff that will be coming there. Look at the volume. They've not putting a light on the volume that exists. So I incurred a cost of at least 500,000 more for 2 years of with the city having my plans held for 4 inches of height, restricting that wasn't even restricting the view as much for the people behind me, but in front, it's okay for me to lose all my view from all the places.
You are coming to the end of your time. If you
Yeah, so what I would say is please consider giving us more time and do not take this lightly because families may lose their homes for a rezoning that needs to actually be negotiated with the families or come back with a different proposal. Thank you so much and apologize for going over time.
Thank you very much for those detailed comments. And I don't see any questions from council for you, but we appreciate you attending in person and sharing your thoughts. Okay, I'm going to ask the clerk now if there are any speakers on the line at this point. Additional speakers?
There are none.
Okay, I will make an additional call for anybody that would like to offer their comments to call toll-free 1-833-353-8610, followed by the participant code 1061445# before close of the speakers list. And again, this number is available on Twitter and the live stream. So, Council, we will take our 5-minute break to allow anybody to call in at this point. It's 7:54, so we'll come back at 7:59. Thank you.
Yes, Chair, we have quorum.
Terrific. Okay, we are back, and we have quorum. And Clerk, do we have any additional speakers on the line?
Just doing a double check. And no, we have no additional speakers.
Okay. Hearing none then, and having made a final call and taken our 5-minute recess, I will now close the speakers list. And as few or no public comments were received on this item after 5 p.m. today, I also suggest that we close receipt of public comments and move on to hearing closing comments, asking further questions of staff, and to make a decision. And at this time, does the applicant have any closing comments?
No, thanks, Your Worship. Nothing further.
Thank you. And staff, any closing comments?
No closing comments, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, any questions for staff? Okay, not hearing any. Council can now proceed to make the decision on the application. And do I have a mover?
I'll move Councillor Dominato.
Councillor Dominato, and second?
Swanson.
Councillor Swanson. And Councillor Swanson, I did see you on the queue. Did you have any comments or debate?
No.
Nope. Okay. Any councillors wish to provide comments? Councillor Dominato, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And just briefly to say, happy to support this amendment. I think recognizing, we did hear from one neighbor, there's some concerns around this proposal. By and large, we saw strong support in the correspondence. And I know it's been a long journey for the Benevolent Society in getting here today. And I think we need to think about this in the broader context around the benefits that this is going to bring in terms of the licensed long-term care, which we heard from the society that there's a need for that. And I think we know that from council discussions that we've had around a number of issues around that we have an aging population in the city of Vancouver, a growing need to support seniors. I was just speaking with a senior this afternoon, and we were talking exactly about this, the need for housing, particularly for seniors, but also those who may be elderly and need higher levels of support. And also, I think there's another win in this is that there's going to be purposeful rental adjacent. And so I think there's a real positives that are coming from this. And like I acknowledged at the beginning, I know it's been a long journey to get to this place. And so I'm happy to support this rezoning text amendment. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Dominato. I'm going to take this opportunity to provide some comments myself. And just trying to start that timer. Clerks, maybe you can help me. Seems I have a sticky button. Yeah, I'm really happy to support this application. I'm always struck by the stats that we have in terms of the percentage of our population in a very short period of time that is going to be senior and aging rapidly. And we do need to be really proactively planning to ensure that there are sufficient facilities available. I think that's critically important. I really appreciate community-led projects like this that are coming from communities that are really born of the spirit of communities trying to take care of each other and their sort of community members as they go through different phases of life and as they age. And I think that additionally, having an additional new purpose-built facility will also help. I mean, we saw, for example, during the heat dome, if what can happen, so the tragedy in terms of the loss of life, if we don't have facilities that are provide the necessary kind of comforts. And I think with newer buildings like this, they have the opportunity to have, ensure they have the appropriate heating and cooling systems to support people to live in comfort, not just in terms of cultural connections, language, et cetera, but to make sure that they're well supported with quality of care. And so I think that there's a significant need for this. I know that some of these projects are a labor of love to make them happen when they're nonprofit and when they come from societies like the German Benevolent Society. And I'm grateful to see this one come forward and happy to support it. So with that said, and not seeing any other councillors on the queue, I'll ask. We'll see if we can trigger our vote here.
Chair. My computer's good.
Would you like a vote assist, Councillor Weeb?
Sure. I've got to back up, but yeah.
A vote assist in
Favor.
okay. Thank you. That has passed unanimously with none in opposition. And so that concludes all 5 items of business this evening. Council, 2 hours before our scheduled end, which I'm sure everybody will be pleased about. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Councillor Weeb, seconded by Councillor Dominato. None in any in opposition? I'm gonna wager no. No, hearing none. Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you, staff, and thank you, the members of the public that called in. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, everyone.
Staff.
Thanks, Chair.